Hey, Scott Jordan here for Jancast number 214. That's 214th for May 28th, 2026. And as I teased on the last Jancast, I'm going to talk a little bit about AI today. I'm no expert, but I've been doing this tech stuff for quite a while, so let's kind of recap it. And I'm not divulging anything that's going to be catastrophic for Bullen if some of our competitors listen to this, and I'm sure they will. But let's get into it. So let's review some of the AI events over the last 20 or 30 years. So back between the 50s and the 70s, there's a lot of optimism about what was going to happen and how soon it was going to happen. Back then, some talk about translating different languages, solving math problems, playing games, and mimic some form of human reasoning. So I think most of that's been accomplished now, but back in the 50s to the 70s, they thought it was actually going to happen back then, and obviously it didn't. So at Bullen here, one of the jumps in AI, even though it's not traditional AI, it certainly used some intelligence to be able to make itself work. But back in the day, we used to have our typesetting done, and you don't even know what typesetting is nowadays. But back in the day, for like a standard gallon label, we'd have a 4x4 inch direction label. So our routine would be to drop off our copy to the typesetter, who was a couple blocks away, on our way to lunch. And the next day, on our way back from lunch, we would stop and pick up that little 4x4 direction panel, and that would be pasted up, shot with a graphics camera, process the film, and then we use that to burn our silk screens for the actual printing process of the labels. Back then, it was unusual for labels in general, just because you had to have them all printed outside. There was no digital printing at that particular point. But along came the laser writer from Apple, which was at the time no better than $100 one today, but it was $10,000 for that printer. But what that did was we were able to do our typesetting work internally. And in about a month's time, we put our typesetter out of business. But the good news is she ended up coming to work for Bullen for about 15 years before she retired. So it was a transition for her, a transition for us, but what it really enabled us to do is digitally produce stuff in-house that was never possible before. So I'm going over the kind of the history here, and a couple noteworthy things were in the 70s to the 90s. There was something that I don't even remember hearing about. It's called the AI winter, and the funding and everything crashed several times back in those days because none of the things were actually able to be done. So yeah, AI winter occurred from the 70s through the 90s. Again, I don't remember the terminology along those lines, but certainly I'm sure it was real because ChatGPT told us, right? The modern AI began emerging in the 1990s into the 2010s. Few milestones changed the perception back then. Was in 1997, IBM's Deep Blue defeated Garry Kasparov, the chess champion. That was a first. In 2004, Jancast was started. How about that? 2011, IBM's Watson won on Jeopardy. And around 2012, deep learning breakthroughs dramatically improved image and speech recognition. So back then, everybody was considering that the start of the AI revolution. So the next thing that kind of came along was what we're kind of living in now, which is a generative AI explosion, which kind of started back in 2001 and 2020. And that was the formation of OpenAI, ChatGPT, which we've all used before. And do you know what GPT stands for? It's generative, so it generates text, answers, codes, images, etc. Pre-training, which is the P part, it was trained on large amounts of data before interacting with users. And then transformer, the neural network architecture that powers it, how it understands and generates languages. So that kind of came about with ChatGPT as well as Google's Gemini and anthropotics. So much for my AI, Claude. So what's Bullen doing with AI? Good example would be this label over here, or over there, for our product, Frothy Cutlery Cleaner. That label was designed 100% using ChatGPT's image generation engine. At that point, it wasn't very good. The spelling was terrible. It wouldn't correct itself even if you told it over and over again. But it gives us some concepts for a great looking label design, which I think you would agree it turned out well. Now, our graphics department doesn't like it when I show up with some of these renderings, because the problem with the current, even though it's fantastic, current versions of ChatGPT and Gemini and some of those other things, is it doesn't create artwork that's easily editable. Meaning if we go into Adobe's InDesign or Illustrator or any of those, you could take the individual pieces of art and move them around, change their size, change their color, whatever. But the problem with ChatGPT and some of the other AI tools is they put out something that's very, very difficult to work with. So essentially what we had to do is, after we came up with the basic design for Frothy, we had to then recreate it. And fortunately, we have a pretty talented person in the graphics department. We had to recreate it so it could be manipulated, then put into the full label. We also use AI for reviewing our formulas, which is very important right now because we have supply chain issues with certain raw materials. So we can put in, even though we have chemists on staff, we can put into an AI, say, here's our current formula. We're having trouble getting XYZ raw material. What are some alternative formulas that would not need to use as much of that particular raw material, or possibly a whole new raw material? So it's been extremely helpful from that standpoint. We also use it for regulatory stuff to check out whether or not we've generated a proper SDS and look into those issues as well. We just recently converted in the last year and a half our ERP system over to SAP Business One. And one of the things that all of us here at Bullen use, because you can get the data out of it with some pre-done reports, but the real key for ERP systems is to be able to generate queries to get data that's in there out in different forms. So now we can use ChatGPT or one of the other AIs to say, I need a report from SAP Business One HANA, which is the version that we use. And I need a query that'll give me gross profit by product, by customer, and showing the last sale date. Well, I couldn't have done that myself. Maybe some of our more computer savvy people here at Bullen could have. But what the AI agent is able to do is it gives you the code, then you just paste it in to the query manager, or query wizard in this case for SAP. And it gives you the code to put it in. If it doesn't work, it gives you an error within SAP. You copy that error, paste it in, and it invariably within the second or third version, it'll say, "Oh, that's because it's doing this or that. You need to redo this and paste this in," and it works perfectly. So now I'm able to generate custom sales reports, all kinds of queries of looking at who buys products that contain a specific raw material, because that's an issue right now with all the supply chain issues going on. So we can use that the AI to be able to figure that out and all that. We have a new product called Clear Ion that we developed. It's a fragrance-free odor control system, and I wanted to do a video to show what it would be like, because this product, Clear Ion's geared at hospitality, like where people smoke in the room when they're not supposed to, and how you get rid of those odors. So I needed a video, and I was going to go rent a hotel room and do a video for an hour and then leave. But I said, I wonder if I could use, at that point, there's a product called Sora, which is no longer available. The AI company that was hosting it decided it was costing too much money, and they needed to focus their efforts more on coding than video generation. So I did create this video.
Ugh.
We're over
Hi,
here
yeah, this is room 412. I just checked
of
in
a
a couple
person
minutes
checking
ago. It,
into a
it
hotel
reeks of
room
cigarette smoke in here, like someone was
and
just
getting
smoking. I
hit
can't
by
stay in
the
this.
I'm so
odor
sorry
that
about that. Let me.
you would normally you would normally expect if you checked into a room that somebody had been smoking in and you didn't want a smoking room. Um, those of you that have been listening to Jancast also know that I use AI for my co-host for non-human opinions on the things that I'm going to talk about either before or after their opinions are in there. And it's gone from a simple audio overview to now it creates a video that goes along with it with some great graphics that tie in with what it's talking about without any human interaction on my part. I just end up with short a short video, and I can specify, say, I don't want this to be any longer than 6 minutes, let's say. So all that's been happening really, really easily and just fantastic. Another thing we use it for is new account research. Used back in the day, we subscribed to Dun and Bradstreet, and they had a set of DVDs or CDs at that point, I think it was, and you could search on specific companies, and then at that point you could say, give me companies like that. Well, you can do the exact same thing now with an AI agent and say, okay, I have a customer in the New England market, let's say Massachusetts, and I want to see if I can identify other accounts just like that one, as far as a janitorial supply house that sells to nursing homes. It'll give me all the accounts that kind of match up with that specific query or prompt that I'm looking for. So you can do all that pretty much for free now. What's next? Um, AI agents that actually do work. That would be a chatbot type thing situation where a bot, and you can essentially, say, what's on my agenda today? And it would give you a report of everything. It would read your calendar, read your emails, and give you everything you need. Second one that's coming is real-time voice and video. AI becomes normal. So instead of me asking an AI to generate a video, I can actually interact with an AI real time. It'll do translations. Um, it could you could record your sales calls and have it coach you after the fact on how you can improve those calls. Another one would be AI generated training videos, which we're already doing AI generated videos, but specifically for training would be fantastic. So there's also the final thing is specialized industry AI that'll beat the general AI. So what we're working on here at Bullen is, imagine all of our brands. We've got 6 different brands. Each one has 20, 30, 40 products in it. And we have product sheets for every single one of those individual items. We also have STSs for it. So our large language model would be everything that relates to our Bullen brands. So ultimately, you could ask the AI information about, give me all the products that are used on vinyl flooring with a pH of XYZ, and it would instantly give you that information. So really looking forward to all of that, and I hope this has been helpful. I'm no expert, but gives you a general idea of what we're doing here at Bullen. Hopefully some groundbreaking stuff. The really groundbreaking stuff, we're not going to tell you how we did it, but thanks a lot for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed this Jancast.